Oh man, I love our audience. I love it. I appreciate the cheers and the claps. I hear you, the woo in the background.
Woo woo.
Yeah, I hear you. But just thank you, thank you.
Calm down, Cletus.
Yeah, calm down. It is I, the light bulb of higher thought, here with Nishan. Am I saying that correctly?
Of course you're saying that.
I just wanted to make sure I say that correctly. You know, some people say my name wrong, and I'm like, that ain't it, but I'll let it fly.
I know it's the real name is even harder. Like the true name is even harder. So don't even sweat it.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna sweat it. We're just gonna keep it moving there. Welcome to episode 2, Lessons in Deeper Wisdom.
Ooh, we did
deeper wisdom.
We're going deep. There's
like
another
our voices. So yeah, two deep voices talking about deep things.
Deep things.
So yeah, don't fall asleep on this. This isn't the pillow talk hour. You know, this is the wisdom hour.
You gotta do the quiet store. The quiet store.
So man, it's
when you feel like you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and keep hanging.
Yeah, so don't fall asleep on us. Keep on listening to the show with us, and
we got a lot of good stuff though. We do. Nobody's gonna fall asleep on this one. I promise.
If you're actually listening, you're not.
Yeah, you're gonna like this one. Well, people gonna love it or hate it. That's how it's gonna go. They're gonna love it or hate it.
They gonna love it, and they might hate that they love it. That's what it's gonna be. They gonna hate that they love it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that good.
So people gonna be mad though, but that's okay. I'm okay with people being mad.
I embrace the madness.
Exactly. Be engaged. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Either way.
I like a dissenting opinion every now and then.
So today we are talking about why is life so freaking hard for everybody? Why is everybody like, oh my God, life is so hard. It's so difficult. Why are things going so? Why is so much drama going on? What? It's me personally. The life is after me. It's coming for me.
It's coming for you and you only. But.
It's coming for everybody.
It is, because everybody's living it.
Yeah.
So it's got to come for you at some point.
So, okay, why is life hard? What's the deal? You're the light bulb of wisdom, deeper wisdom. Talk to me about why is life so hard for everybody, man?
Life is hard because it's a matter of perspective. What is hard? Ooh. What is hard? Hard is what you define it as, to me, right? Mm-hmm. So everything has a definition. So when we shape our world with those definitions. And so, okay, take the word hard. What does that mean? To some people, hard would mean easy or a challenge. To other people, hard means I can't.
I lost my phone. Oh no.
I think. Well, I guess I could ask you: Is there to you a difference between difficult and hard?
I think the words are the same. They're the same word. I think the issue comes when people have experienced so much ease that they redefine what hard means. So most of the time people define hard as anything that's challenging, and that's not hard. Challenging is something that forces you to dig deep and go beyond your normal limits. Hard is when it's something that, it's not necessarily anything you can do anything about. It's just something that you have to go through. And that, for me, hard is something where you have little or no control. Challenging is just something that, okay, I have to grow in this moment and overcome, versus, okay, this just happened. Like, you get hit by a car. Well, there's nothing you can do about that. It wasn't your fault. There's nothing you could do. You got hit. And now you have to deal with the consequences of that and the results that come from that. And that is hard because there's not a whole lot you can do to repair that damage other than, go see a doctor, whatever. So first, let's define hard. Hard are things that you have little or no control over or little or no ability to mediate. Most people have defined hard as, I didn't get enough, likes on my TikTok video that I put up, or, I didn't, my friend didn't come through with, that whatever they were supposed to do for me, and so now I'm mad and upset, or my show got canceled. that they consider that hard, and that's because most of the time life is pretty freaking easy. I mean, if you live in the United States, I'm sorry, life is pretty easy for most people. Generally speaking, there are services to help you with most of the things that go wrong in your life. There are people who care about you. There are people who, who got your back, or even if you don't have all that, you still live in a country where pretty much, we're the richest country in the world. We have, resources that other countries don't. So most of our life is easy. Nobody's, except for maybe Flint, is worrying about what their water's like for the most part.
Yeah.
There's a story I heard recently about, it's actually President Carter. He has literally gone from, before he was president till now, trying to eradicate this particular type of worm. And this worm comes from people drinking water that is unsanitary. And when he first started this, there was like 1.5 million cases of this worm infection in the world. Now there are 8. Due to his his efforts to eliminate it, and that's basically by bringing methods for clean drinking water to countries that didn't have it. And you think about that, there were countries that didn't have clean drinking water, so they were infested with these painful worms. Millions of people, and now there's 8. We take that for granted that you can turn a tap on and your water's going to come out. So hard is relative. Depending on where you live and what you're going through. Don't get me wrong, there's some hard things that happen here in America too. Like, you can be getting beat up when you're a kid. You can live in poverty. I came up living in the city of Detroit. I came up, with some difficulties. You know what I mean? Some things that, I lived in a house.
Some hardships.
You know what I'm saying? Well, people, and I don't say it like, oh, I need sympathy from me. I don't need sympathy, but I understand what hard is, because I lived in a house that there was no lights. There was no heat in the middle of winter. Okay, so the pipes froze and burst, and the basement flooded up with sewage, and we had to go across the street to my aunt's house to get water to flush the toilet, and we had kerosene heaters in the living room. We all had to sleep in the living room because there was no heat anywhere else. So, I mean, I've been through hard, you know what I mean? So for me, hard is a whole nother level.
It's different to you,
right?
Whereas some people, like you say, I lost my phone. Now things are hard all of a sudden. But it's but to me, it's more or less okay. Well, why not just call it life? Like, it's just life. It's just another moment in your life that you're going through. It doesn't have to be. I feel like people look at things as if they are hard because it's not the moment that it was before. It doesn't feel as simple as it was a few seconds ago or a couple of days ago, or it was all good just a week ago. Like that. Like, oh, it was all good just a week ago, but now I got this and that, and it's hard. But it's like, is it hard, or are you just upset that you have to push through?
That's the thing. It's like, people don't want to be challenged, but they want to be challenged, because if they're not challenged, they say they're bored. Okay, and that's what I mean. When there's challenging, there's things to overcome, and then there's things that are outside of your control. When you're a kid and you don't have heat and light and stuff, that's not in your control. There's nothing you can do about that. But you got to go through it. So that's hard. When you're an adult, you have choices. Okay, there may not be great choices, but you have choices, and therein lies the difference. Okay, between difficult and hard. Difficult means you got a choice. You can do something about it, or you cannot, and that choice may not be fun. But for instance, you're in a relationship that is not working. Everybody knows it's not working. You know it's not working. Your partner knows it's not working. But financially, you're kind of tied together. So you got 2 choices. You can stay in it and deal with the hardship of, we're not getting along and things are going sideways on us, or we can split up. In which case, you're gonna deal with the hardship of I'm broke. You know what I mean? So
that part, yeah,
right. And it's not a great choice, but it's a choice, and that's the problem. That people, they think that because it's difficult and the choices are difficult, that I don't have a choice, and that's the lie. And that's the real reason why people think life is hard, because we believe the lie, and the lie is that you have no choice.
Life is all choice.
That's my point. That's
life
the difference.
Life is all choice. Even everything that you feel. I mean, I can't say that you necessarily control all of your emotions. You're gonna get those impressions, but everything you do with it after that is a choice.
Here's the part that, like I said, people are not gonna like it. how you react to something emotionally, still a choice.
Oh, definitely a choice.
It's not.
It can be there all at once. I don't care. It can be there all at once. But how you choose to interact with it, there again, that C word, choice, choose. Like, that's up to you. You get to decide that. You get to decide if somebody punches you in the face, are you going to be the turny of the cheek person, or are you going to be the, all right, I'm going to punch you back into yours twice type person? You know, like, it's your decision. Not saying that either one is right or wrong, but it's your decision. It's a choice.
Okay, short story. Okay, I got jumped when I was younger. Okay. Not my fault. And everybody says, if you got jumped, it's your fault. It wasn't my fault. So I'm coming home from school with this dude I don't really know, but I like talking to people. So I'm talking to him. He got a broken arm. And so, like, we're walking, and then all of a sudden, like, 12 dudes just run up on us. And I'm like, whoa, you know what's going on? And they're talking to him. Oh, shit, sorry. They're talking to him like, you know, you was talking all this smack before, you know, now what's up? And so they start getting into it with him. They're like, you lucky your arm is broken. We, you know, beat you up again. And so then he's like, what about you? And I'm like, what about me? He's like, what about you? I'm like, man, I ain't in this, man. I don't even know this dude. And he's like, maybe I'm gonna put you in it. And I was like, man, I ain't even trying to, I'm just trying to go home, man.
They was
looking for somebody, right? And it was my turn. So he slapped me in the face, you know, in front of his boys. And I'm like, okay, well, and I took like a couple seconds. I'm like, okay, I could take this slap and I could be a punk, you know, and they're going to just be like, oh, we punked him, blah, 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 blah. Or I could hit him back and then I'm going to get stomped out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, choices. And I literally had, like, it was like time froze. I was making this decision. And while I was thinking about it, he slapped me again.
Oh, okay. Now
so I swung on him.
Now my decision has been made.
And then my decision was, okay, I'm about to get hurt. So I swung on him and I got stomped out. So, I mean, it happens, but it's like, you have to understand, I still had a choice. Okay, and my choice was, okay, I can take this ass whooping that I'm about to get, or I, you know,
at least go down swinging.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like my pride was a pride thing, and I realized it was a pride thing. And people say, you know, oh, you know, don't let your pride make decisions for you. And I'm like, you shouldn't.
Nah,
for the most part. But you got to look yourself in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? I had to look at myself, and despite the fact that I did not win that fight by any stretch of the imagination, I still respect myself for, you know, for the decision I made. And that's the thing with life, is that these choices are sometimes just lose. You know what I mean?
But still stand up for yourself.
Right. Or the lesser of the two evils. But most people are not willing to recognize that choice. They want to just say life is doing me wrong. There was no choice. Yeah, there was. It was just a lose choice, and you didn't want to make the decision between the lesser of the two evils, or you chose the lesser of two evils by not making a decision at all. And that's the hard part, is, you know, people don't realize not making a decision is still choosing. You're still choosing.
Always.
So it's like, when I used to counsel people all the time, I would tell them flat out, let's eliminate this lie that you are powerless and you have no choice in this matter whatsoever. You always have a choice. The choices may suck, but you always have a choice.
That's something that I try to tell people a lot too, especially like with my friends or whoever is you know, one of those give me advice conversations, you know. And it's like, people will tell themselves these stories and these lies over and over, but sometimes they don't realize it's them that's telling the story. And it's like, okay, like who is saying that to you? The only person that's saying that to you is you. Yeah. You're lying to yourself and accepting that lie of, oh, okay, life is hard. Things are going to be hard. I mean, no, all life isn't necessarily easy.
No.
You know what I mean? But if you keep telling yourself life is hard, you're going to live that every single day.
And therein lies the issue that I keep trying to get across to people, is that you are in control of all of this. And I don't mean that, like, if a car hits you or you get cancer or something like that, you're in control. That's not something you can necessarily control. That's the hard stuff. Those are things that are outside your control. You can't control whether or not you get cancer. You can't control whether or not you get hit by a car. But most of life, I'd say at least 90%, 95%, is basically built off of the choices that you make. Well, I got an abusive partner. You chose him. You can choose to leave.
You can also, you can also choose to leave, however difficult it may be.
Exactly. I don't have a job. Okay, so go get a job. Well, they won't let me. Here, grab your kids, go stay at a shelter, go stay with whoever, GTFO, and then go rebuild your life. Rebuilding your life sucks, but I've done it numerous times because of the fact that sometimes you just got to go. I had a partner at one time who decided it would be a good idea to take a swing at me. Now, I'm no small fella, so I can't hit back. So you took a swing at me once, I'm out that day. I left that day. And they were like, what? You just going to leave? Yep, because I can't hit you back. You know what I'm saying? And if that's how a relationship is going, that's just not something I want to do. And did it suck? Yeah, I ended up losing a whole bunch of stuff, and I had to rebuild a whole bunch of stuff. I had to go get a new house. It was not fun, but it was one of those situations where it's like, I made a decision. Am I the type of guy who gets hit? And you know what I'm saying? And we all got to make those types of choices. They suck, but they're real. And that's the problem that most people have, and why they think life is hard is because they start from the premise that I don't have a choice in most of the situations. My job sucks. Well, then quit. Well, I can't just quit. Yeah, you can. It'll suck if you quit.
Yeah, there's consequences. There's possibilities there as well. You know what I mean? There's always that. I mean, because you can say, okay, if I quit this job, I won't have one and I can't get another one. But are you saying now that there's 0% chance that something good can happen out of that? So nothing good is happening in the situation that you're in. So why not take the chance and go for that?
Well, then they start. The funny part for me is like when I would talk to people about this, and I'm like, why don't you just leave? Well, it's really not that bad, and they start rationalizing about why they're staying. I'm like, well, then you don't really want to leave. You are choosing this pain. You are choosing this. Oh goodness, I gotta hear. You are choosing this suffering, and then wondering why it continues to go on. This is something you are deciding because you're too afraid or unwilling to take the harder road. And therein lies the problem. We don't own our choices. So then we say, life did this to me. We put this amorphous, enigmatic thing called life out there. It did it to me. No, it didn't. You did. You chose this road. You chose this path. You chose this career. You chose this way of living. I did 23 years in IT, just working on computers because I was good at it. And I really, I liked computers and whatnot. And it was 20 some odd years in. And I prided myself on customer service. I was really good with my customers. And then one day I got rude with a customer because I was so frustrated with the technical stuff. And I realized, if I'm getting this frustrated with a customer, it's because I no longer love what I'm doing. And if I don't love what I'm doing, I can't do this anymore.
You lose all sense of will to even be there.
Right. And so then life and my job became just a drudge that I had to suffer through every day instead of, joy. At that point, I said, I got to make a change. And an opportunity came to get into video production. I left. And my father at the time didn't understand. He's like, how are you going to do 20 years in this job and then just leave?
Man, it's so a lot of people don't understand that because we're used to the culture of work. Even if it's the same job, it pays the bills. You'll get your pension and your 401k or whatever when you retire.
Maybe,
hopefully, when you retire. If you're around my age group, just.
Don't even think about that. That's not even a thing no more.
Don't even. And then you work these jobs until you're 65, and then you can retire and enjoy your life and do the things you want to do. But it's like
you got to put that in quotes now. Congress is trying to raise it to 67. I'm not playing, man.
But it's like I had the same experience with. We can get, I guess, on the personal level of how this life is hard thing is for me is. I was working in engineering. So I went to school for engineering, and then I get, my big boy job, and I got my khaki pants on, and I'm like, I got salary.
You got your name tag and everything.
Yeah, I got a salary. It's like, I'm here. Like, I've made it. I've crossed that threshold into the working world now.
I'm an adult.
Yeah, I'm an adult now. I went and I got me a new car, and I was excited, and to me, the job was hard. I thought the job was hard. And I was like, man, why is this job hard? And it was like, I think I enjoy doing this. I come in here every day. I want to do the job. I want to do it well. I want to do it right. But it just seems hard.
Yeah.
And I ended up leaving that company after about 2 years due to, there was a lot of reasons, but it was time for me to go.
Yeah.
It was time to go. And so I had an opportunity pop up, left, went to that one. They basically doubled my pay, loved the environment. It was just like everything that I wanted the other place to be. Mm-hmm. And it stopped getting hard and it just became different.
Yeah.
And when I say different, it was like, okay, I had a moment of realization of like, dang, like I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it's not even that it's hard now. It's just the hard part is leaving.
Yeah.
And when I left, actually I was forced out thanks to COVID. So thank you, COVID, which I really needed.
Sucks.
So I noticed even when I tried to get back into the field, it became hard on a completely different level, on like a soul sucking level. And that to me is when life is hard. Life is hard to me when it's because I'm struggling making a decision.
Right.
I'm struggling to put action into my life to change it. You know, I'm choosing to live in that hardship or live in that difficult zone of life of, you know, doing something that I'm not happy doing every single day. Yeah. Like that was a choice. I chose to be. I could have walked out the first day. I said, "Oh no, I don't feel like this." I could have walked out the first day. I should have. I probably should have walked out that first day. You know, it is funny. I actually wrote a resignation letter. I wrote a resignation letter and never got to send it because I was
COVID.
Well, no, this was when I tried to get back after COVID. Like I actually wrote a resignation letter. This was when I was completely fed up and done with the engineering world. I wrote a resignation letter and I actually was laid off a few months later in the exact way that I wrote in my resignation letter. And I was like,
what?
I could dig it. But then people, like, when I left...
You're touching on something right there. You know that.
Yeah. We'll get to it at some point. But when I left, I remember telling the guys who walked me out, I said, man, this is one of the happiest days of my life. And he gave me like this look, and I'm like, yeah, no. He's like, good luck. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I already got it. And so people were like, yo, like you gonna go back into engineering? You still looking for a job? And I'm like, actually, no. I refuse to go back to something like that. And that I choose to be happier and not deal with that. Now I'm doing, you know, life on my own, trying to be an entrepreneur and figure out my place, you know, in that. And some people would say starting your own business and working for yourself is hard. I will say it has not been easy.
It's challenging.
But I love it. And I love the challenge, and I choose to continue facing the challenge.
That's the part.
I don't see it as hard. I see it as a challenge. And there's been a couple times recently where I noticed people like, oh, oh, you're good under pressure. Oh, that was, you know, no pressure. I'm like, I don't. Or how do you feel about pressure? It's like, I don't feel it. I don't see pressure as that. I see pressure as an opportunity.
Well, and I hear you. I hear you on that. And that's the hard part for a lot of people is to understand that what you think about a situation is far more important than the situation itself. How you think and how you feel about a situation literally determines how you walk into that situation. If you're afraid of it, if you give that fear dominion, if you are allowing yourself to think the worst, you will literally create the worst environment or the worst situation that you didn't want. And it's hard for people to understand that. I call it the Patrick Swayze philosophy. He's like, in the movie, he was like, you know, fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. Mm-hmm. So when you walk into a place and with you've seen somebody walk in and they're just shaking and they're like, oh, I'm so nervous, I'm so this, and they just live in this state of fear, then they don't give their best impression. You don't even get to see their best selves because they're just overwhelmed by this emotional state. So the key to figuring out whether this life is difficult or whether life is hard is understanding whether or not you have choice. First of all, determining, do I have a choice here? And if you do, then it's no longer hard. It's just difficult, and it becomes a challenge. And that challenge is basically saying, who am I in this moment?
Woof.
And that's what people don't get about how important choice is. That is literally the human superpower, is your choice. Your choices literally define who you are to you. And that is some important, that's the key right there.
Yeah, you getting applause for that one.
The people don't get that you being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I like who I'm looking at. You know, as a person, I understand who that person is and I get who they are, and I'm cool with that. That is a hard place to get to. It's a difficult place to get to, and it's all defined by your choices.
Was that difficult for you? I mean, given your upbringing, the things that you've been through in your life, and even as an adult, like, are there times where you have that moment of correction, where you have to correct yourself, where you realize, oh, okay, wait a minute, I'm
better than this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, every day. I mean, that's a challenge when I decided to take this leap that we're taking right now, of making my dreams come true. Because just FYI, our last little venture that we did together, the movie What Lies Within, is just got approved to go up on Amazon. We got licensed for Amazon.
Woo!
So we got through the quality control process,
yes.
And it's about ready to get out there streaming. So we're going to be advertising that. But the key is understanding that, like, yeah, I get that too. When you wake up and you're like, man, what am I doing? Why is life doing this to me? And then I realize, oh wait, no, life isn't doing anything to me. This is my life. I've chosen this path. I understand the difficulties that go along with it, and I choose the difficult path because I want to become stronger. I want to become a better entrepreneur. I want to become a better filmmaker because I know I can do this. I know what I'm capable of.
You actually want to do the work.
Exactly.
Because that, a lot of times, some people don't know what they're asking for when they take those leaps of faith, right? Yeah. And when they do that, a lot of times people want that instant gratification, which some people get it. Some people come right out and boom, they take off. You know, but then there's also people who go through a lot to get to where they are, but those people that go through a lot to get to where they are usually the ones who are left standing at the end.
Oh yeah.
Because they're the ones who can get knocked down a million times and get up because that was how they started.
Oh yeah.
That get knocked down is nothing to them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I lose some money? Oh well.
Yeah. Okay.
Money's a means to an end, and you can always make. I told my wife now. I know. I told my wife now. I'm like, look, we can always make more money. The question is, okay, did we learn anything from that loss? We took that L, but did we learn anything from it? And then if we learn something, apply that to the next, project that we're involved in, and then we won't take that L this time. We'll take a different one maybe, or we'll get the W. And that's the key, is to understand that you choose how you see all of reality. Every single moment of every day, you choose how you see reality. Either this is a challenge that for you to overcome, or it's the end of the world and you can't do anything about it because you're powerless. That is a decision that you make, and based on that decision, literally your life will unfold in different paths and different ways. If you decide, well, all I deserve is this abusive jerk of a person, well then yeah, you're going to be in an abusive relationship for the rest of your life. But if you decide, I deserve better, I deserve more because I see my own value, well then that's a choice that you made to do better.
And now you start to see better.
Exactly.
It's interesting. It's almost kind of like when you read a book, and you try to follow the characters, and it's the story that the author was telling and the story that the characters are telling themselves. Yeah. So it's almost kind of like two different stories wrapped in one.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you have to put yourself in that story as not just the narrator, but actually be the character in that. Be the narrator, create that story, now live it as the character. And let that narration be the theme of who you are and what you're doing and the choices that you make, to instead of being a narrator like, oh, poor little old Johnny has a hard life. And now you're walking around like little Johnny living this hard life. Or you could change the narrative and say life seemed hard to Johnny, but then little Johnny realized, ding, light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Life ain't got to be this hard. Let's go party. And all of a sudden the whole story shifts and you're like, oh, well, wait a minute, was that a climax? Was that a shift point in the story? And it's like, well, kind of, yeah, for you, but you changed that story, you changed that narrative. Now the character's on a whole completely different path. Welcome to halftime. Give yourself and your mind a moment to rest. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And slow, deep breath out through the mouth. Focus only on your breath. Take another slow, deep breath in. And another slow, deep breath out. Feel better? Good. We want to take this moment to thank you for listening and watching this podcast. We hope you take something positive from it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment your light bulb moments. We also want to thank one of our biggest sponsors that make this podcast possible, Podcastic. Check them out at podcasticlife.com. Back to the wisdom.
Well, I look at life like that. My life is my story, and I'm writing it, and like you said, narrating it at the same time, because we all got that voice in our head that says things to us like, you ever been in a situation you're like, what the hell am I doing?
I found some people don't have that. Some people don't have that internal monologue happening.
Well, they choose to ignore it. I think it's there because we've all had a moment where you're just like, you get that feeling, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then you have to ask, who's that voice? You know what I mean? Like when you're talking to yourself and you're like, what am I doing? Who are you talking to? And who's talking to you? You know what I mean? And that part of yourself, that part of your consciousness, that deeper level of self is really the part that's challenging and questioning, is this, the path that you're supposed to be on? Is it what you're supposed to be doing? It makes you question. And like you're saying, if you're telling and writing your story at the same time, you get to decide what that story is. Is it a tragedy? Is it a romantic comedy? Is it an adventure tale or whatever? But you get to decide based on your choices what your life is. And the truth is, when you really get down to it, when you really get down to that base level where you start to understand how important your choices are, you are the person who is not only writing the story, not only living the story, but in that moment, you can change the genre of your story based on the decisions that you're making. And if you recognize that power, then at any point, at any single point in your life, you can change the whole course of it just by saying, I've had enough.
Yeah. And that's kind of taking it for sure into like the grand scheme of things of just how this looks, as a whole collectively, right? Like we are choosing, like you say, the genres of these stories that we're living. So it's like what you look for, you will find. Seeking, you shall find. You know what I'm saying? What you look for, you're going to see. What you're training your eyes on is what's going to manifest in the world around you. If you walk around, you're like, man, I know so many funny people. You're going to be looking for the jokes in every person that you meet, every conversation you have. You're looking for the jokes, right? Because in your mind, everybody's funny. Yeah. And you're going to find little stuff you're going to find the obvious jokes. You're going to find the jokes that are hidden. You're going to find the inside jokes. You're going to find the ones that are only in your head that you can't say out loud. And we call it brain candy.
Me and my girl, we call it brain candy. Like the stuff that comes up in your head. You're like, I cannot say that in polite company or else I'm going to get canceled like nobody's business. But it's funny as hell. But what you're talking about, and this is, we're going to get a little technical here. There's a part of your brain, and a lot of people don't know this, is called the reticular activating system.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the reticular activating system actually is the part of your brain that recognizes and filters things that are important and not important to you. So when you understand that, like, when we talk about choices, we're literally talking about reshaping and rewiring the neurons in your brain and how they function. So if you're talking about, okay, I choose to see myself as a person of value, then your reticular activating system says, ding, got it. Only people of value are allowed to be seen. So when you go looking for a partner or you're looking for friendships, you only see people of value because you think I am valuable. So therefore, people who are of no value to me, meaning people who are going to bring me drama and pain and stress, they no longer,
out of sight, out of mind.
They
Even
disappear.
if you're right next to me, you're paying no attention.
It's the same reason why, like, when you buy a new car, you start seeing that car everywhere.
Yep, it's exactly that. It's
right.
exactly that.
It's literally your brain going, this is now important, so now I see it everywhere.
Yep.
And that is a technical reason for why you start to see the things that are important to you. So when you start to see, like, when you say, I want a new job, I am going to get a new job, and you've decided I'm going to get a new job, suddenly all these offers start coming from everywhere because your reticular activating system says, oh, new job. So it starts looking for opportunities. So when you choose to see yourself as valuable, when you choose to see that there is a way out, that there is a way through this problem, that I have a choice, then your brain literally goes, okay, well, let's find these choices. It starts asking the question, where are these choices? And it starts looking for them and then showing them to you.
Are you saying that we should use our brain, like ask our brain stuff like we ask Siri?
What?
It's like an advanced version of Siri. Is that what this is?
Well, think of it from this perspective. Everything that you've ever seen, ever heard, ever tasted, ever touched, or ever learned is stored in your neural net. It's not gone. Even if you can't consciously remember it, your subconscious has a record of it. It literally records everything down. And under hypnosis, you can actually find these things. If people, not everybody can be hypnotized, but when people have been hypnotized, they can recall things from when they were just out of the womb. So it's,
wow.
Right. Your brain stores all the data. We just don't have access to it because it gets filtered out, because it would be overwhelming to remember every single thing that happened to you from the time you were born. That would be overwhelming.
That's an insane level of consciousness.
Exactly. You couldn't do your job because you'd be thinking about what it felt like in the womb. You'd be thinking like, man, it was really comfortable.
Back.
It was so comfortable and
Take
warm.
Me back.
You remember the joy of being a kid, or you remember the first time you were scared of something. Those emotions and associations are still in your brain.
It's funny you say that, because I'm thinking about the process of, and I don't want to go too far off here, but the process of going to get a memory, and whether you're getting the memory or somebody else draws it out of you out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like somebody will mention something and all of a sudden that memory pops up and you're like, oh yeah. But you weren't thinking, you probably hadn't thought about that in years.
Yeah.
In years. It's been sitting back there collecting dust in the memory room in your brain, but which is also funny to me because there's no physical place for memories.
Exactly.
There's no physical place for that. Like the hard drive isn't physical.
We're about to get deep now.
But I don't want to go too far off, but that's just. Yeah, I'll leave that where it's at. We'll get to it on
we'll get to it.
That's another.
That's a show right there.
Yeah, that's another show. But yeah, man, it's interesting how memories work like that, and I look back on the memories of when I felt like life was hard, and I appreciate them.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, man, like back then I was going through this, and that. I had no idea. What was on the other side of what I thought was hard.
Oh yeah, I tell my girl all the time. We go through things. We have we're doing all right. Don't get me wrong now, but it's just like financially, when things go sideways, she gets a little upset about money, and I'm like, I understand that. And she's like, well, we can't go on this trip. I'm like, yeah, but our lights are on. We got gas in the house. We can cook. There's food in the fridge. Our cupboards are full. we can't go and do the luxurious things that we want to do from time to time because of money. But there's never been a time when we've been hungry. You know what I mean? I've been hungry. I've been where we, like I took my dad's last $20 to the store to go get bread and some peanut butter because that's about to be it. You know what I'm saying?
So that's what we eating.
And that's the thing, is like understanding relative hardship. Okay, there are people going through real hardship right now, who don't have control over the things that are happening to them. There are countries where bombs are dropping right now, and they can't control that.
They just have to take it.
That's just what it is.
And hope.
And that's hard because you don't have anywhere to go. There's no control. There's nothing you can do. There are things that are outside of your control. That's a hardship. That's a hard life. Not being able to work where you want to work, that's difficult, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, that's all that is a challenge. It's just a shift in what you need to do.
Right, and that's when you start to look at things at those two different ways, like difficult versus hard. Do I have a choice here or do I not? You don't have a choice of where the bombs get dropped in your building, you know what I'm saying, in your country, if that's what's going on right now. You don't have that choice. But you have a choice as to whether or not you perceive your life as hard or not. You have a choice in whether or not you work at a particular job or you have a particular relationship. Medical stuff, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. That's a hardship when your body starts to work against you and fail against you. But you have choices as to how you react to that. You have choices as to whether or not you allow that to consume you and make you quit. There's a one of the things that, I will say the Marine Corps taught me that is probably the best lesson that I've ever learned, was that there is no stop. There is no quit. Life continues, and it goes on regardless of whether or not you want to deal with the situation or not. You're going to have to live. You're going to have to go through this. You have to decide how you go through it. You have to decide whether or not you stand up to it or you let it rule you. And that's really what it comes down to when it comes to, is life difficult or you wait till it becomes hard and it's out of your control. If you give up control, you've decided to make life hard. If you own the choice, take up the challenge, and then move forward, then it's difficult, but it's something that you can get through. There's an end to it. There's a next step to it. But if you just decide to give up control, then yeah, life is just going to be hard because you gave up control. Then you make it hard, and that's the difficult choice for people to deal with.
That's where the deeper wisdom comes in.
We gotta get deeper on that.
Yeah, like but those are the moments in life that you kind of go back and, like I just said, like you kind of go back and you look on and you're like, okay, wow, like, all right, if I thought life was hard then, and then you get to that next moment where you're like, okay, man, I'm having that time again where I felt like life is hard or life is difficult. And you kind of see what you did last time and how you pushed through, and you're like, okay, well, actually, I kind of got this.
Yeah.
It's not like you say, there's a difference between, when there's bombs dropping where you live at.
Right.
That's hard.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about that.
That's hard.
And if you use that as a definition, okay, choice versus no choice. That's the difference between
not
difficult
having the choices
and hard.
That's hard.
And even when you don't have a choice about the circumstances, you always have a choice about what you're going to do about it. Now, you can sit down and say, okay, well, the bombs are dropping around my house, so I don't have a choice. I just go stay here and wait for the next bomb. Or you can say, you know what? I'm a GTFO. I'm gonna get out of here and do the best I can to get out of here
to wherever,
to wherever under the circumstances. You still, even when you're in situations where you don't have a choice, you have a choice as to how you react. And that's you don't have a choice as if your partner decides to punch you in the face. You don't have a choice about what they do, but you have a choice as to how you react to that. You can decide, do I let this person punch me in the face for the rest of my life? Do I let this person, put their hands on me whenever they feel like it? Or do I decide that I'm worth more than this and I move on to a better situation?
Fight back. Fight.
I'm not gonna tell nobody to fight, because like if you get, like, for me, okay, somebody put their hands on me, I can handle that. But if you're talking about some young lady who's with some person that thought they were going to be one way, and then they turn around and they pop them in the mouth, and they're like, oh, well, this is a different situation. You go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get through this moment right here,
and then go get away from
the first opportunity you get. GTFO, because if someone will hit you, they don't love you. Period. If someone's gonna hit you, they don't love you. Adults don't get hit unless, by people that they love. That's just not how it works. And that's a hard thing for people. I've counseled people who have gone through that, and to get them to understand that, like, look, when people love you, they don't put their hands on you. Well, but nothing.
No, and that to me, I feel like is when their love or their confusion of what love is greater than what that other person's is. Well, and so, like, or how, I don't know, however you want to frame that or whatever, but it's like those are those moments where people begin to make excuses and give you the buts.
Well, that's where the reticular activating system comes in again. Remember, everything that we know is built off of experiences that we've had. So when you define what certain things are, you base them off of, things that you've experienced before. So you know what a chair is because when you were little, someone showed you a picture of a chair and said, this is what a chair is and this is what it's called and blah, 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 blah. So variations on that theme, all chairs resonate in your brain as chairs. So a young lady I was working with some years back was like, I don't know what it is. Every single time I walk into a room, you can be 100 guys in there. I'm going to find the two biggest jerks who are going to punch me in the face. And when you do that, I asked her, I was like, say, why is that? She's like, I don't know. It's I don't know what it is. And I was like, well, define what your perfect guy is like. And she's like, well, he's strong, he's aggressive, I like to drink, so he drinks, we're into this type of music, blah, 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 blah. He's assertive, blah, blah, blah. And I said, now let's, we talked for about a good half an hour about what she liked. And I was like, now let's go back and find what's the first instance of that person that you saw. And she was like, oh wait, my dad was like that. And I was like, let me guess, your dad punched your mom a lot? And she was like, well, yeah. I was like, so the problem you have is that your definition of love and relationship is built off of a person who was abusive, who had all of these traits. So whenever you walk into a room, you filter out all of the decent guys because they don't fit your definition of love. And your neural net is wired to find that guy. Now, here's the thing. Once you know that, you have now come to the crossroads. You now have a choice. Do I continue to look for that person, or do I make it a point to, when I see that person, say no and go to the person who probably seems more boring to me, who doesn't necessarily look the way I want him to look, because I'm looking for something different. You have to go and literally rewire your brain to look for something different. So if we're looking at, since we're going, we're going to move into the deeper aspects of things of how do I apply this in real life, we have to start with the understanding that most people, they call it a calcification of the brain, when your neural net becomes sort of hardwired as you get older. When you become an adult, especially when you're in your 40s and 50s, your brain becomes sort of wired to be a certain way. And people say the phrase that I hate more than any other phrase in the world, well, that's just how I am. Okay, that's not how you are.
Yeah.
Your brain literally rewires itself every single moment it comes in contact with new information. Every time you experience something new, your brain literally restructures its whole shape.
So new minute, new me.
Exactly.
See, this is why people laugh when I tell them, like, it'll be like a joke or something, and something happens, and they'll be like, well, Kimani, you did that. You did this, you did that. I'm like, well, actually, that was the me from 5 minutes ago. You're bringing up old things. Like, you're stuck in the past. Let's worry about now.
Exactly.
We're in the now. You're worried about 5 minutes ago me. Like, this is a whole brand new, different me right now. You know what I mean? So I like that factoid. I can show them this. Say, hey, see, look, here's the proof. Here's the proof.
Well, and that's the hard part to get people to understand is, like, you are not a static being. Literally every 7 years, every cell in your body changes into a new cell. Thus, your body isn't even the same body that it was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, you had completely different cells in every part of your body. Your whole body has renewed itself in that 7 year span, from your neurons to your skin cells to your heart muscle or your heart cells. All of that renews itself over the course of 7 years in different rates. But over that 7 years, you become a new person. The same applies to your neural net. The way your brain actually works is it's constantly shifting and changing to incorporate new information. The more new information you incorporate, and this is literally one of the things that they're talking about to combat Alzheimer's and mental degradation as you get older, is to constantly be bringing into your brain new information and new ideas. So they tell them to do crosswords and things that cause your brain to actually move and change its shape because you're bringing in new ideas and new information.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same way you being fit and exercising keeps your body young, actually.
Yeah.
So like when a lot of elderly people who are fit, like most of the time it's just because they're moving.
Yeah.
They're moving. They're walking every day or whatever. But people that sit all day every day, which is very detrimental, especially when you get like with the way the corporate world works now, where a lot of the jobs are sitting jobs, where we're sitting in front of computers all day, every day. And most of our jobs are sitting. So it, like you say, that stillness is like a death almost. You know what I mean? It's a decay because there's no motion, there's no growth, there's not moving to anything, there's nothing that wants to keep that energy going. So it's going to stop and slow down. While with that a youthful person, they're all over the place, right? Kids, they're bouncing off the walls.
Yeah,
they're consistently moving until.
Even if you're old, you can do that though.
You can, but when you're consistently in spaces where you're not doing that,
right,
things change.
Stagnation equals death.
Yeah.
And the same applies mentally. If you're not learning something new or exploring some new aspect of self, then you become stuck in your way, and you start to think, well, this is just how I am. So this thing that keeps happening over and over and over and over and over again, this pattern that keeps repeating, well, that's just how life is. No, it's not. It's that way because you have decided that you can't or won't change. Your choice was to be comfortable with who you are rather than challenge yourself and look for something new. And when you don't challenge yourself, when you don't explore yourself, when you don't bring in new information, your brain becomes hardened, and it becomes more difficult for you to adapt to new situations, which is why you get these older people who look at the world and they're like, I don't understand any of this stuff. It's all crazy. This is wild and different, and this is wrong, because their way of being has become so solidified and locked in because they don't want new information. And so the world literally becomes a different and foreign place. So everything becomes frightening and scary because they don't want to change. And when you're in that age range between 30 and 40, when you're trying to figure out who you are, you're still making some changes, but you start to get a good idea of what your patterns are. So you begin to solidify your personality, and then you don't want to change because then it's uncomfortable. And this is where we're in the section where this applies, how this applies to you. Literally every single thing in your life, from your relationships to your job to your definition of what happiness is determined by the wiring of your neural net and how your reticular activating system filters out information. If you don't love you, you will literally filter out people who love you. So when you're in the state,
or you'll look at them as not loving you.
Right.
You'll look at somebody could text you, hey, and because it's just one word of hey, you might be like, this person don't like me. This person.
What's with this one word? What's this one word BS?
Yeah, but from their side, they're like, hey.
Yeah.
And then their mind of like, I wonder what they're doing. Let me just say hey, see what they're doing. Hey. Well, and then it's like, well, dang, they didn't even respond. Like, I just want to talk to them. I just wanted to say hi, even if it was just a hi back. But the other person's like, just a hey. They don't love me.
Well, see, and therein lies the issue, is that you're literally talking about your filter now. You're talking about your reticular activating system filters, your neural net filters reality. So when you're walking through your daily life, your brain is filtering the information that you get in. So your eyes, your ears, your senses see a lot more than your brain actually allows your conscious mind to understand. So like, when you bring in all this information, your brain goes, okay, what's important? There's too much information here. So we're going to filter out anything that is not important. So it'll filter out that, nice comment, because it says, well, we don't love ourselves. So filter out that nice comment. It doesn't matter. You didn't even hear it. You ever had somebody talking to you and you're like, I can't even hear what you're saying, because your brain is filtering out what they're saying and saying it's not important. And you need to start, in order for you to make the choice to grow, you have to honestly look at what your filter is telling you. If all the people around you are users and are negative people and are constantly bringing you trouble and problems and messing up life around you, you need to look at, why am I associating with these people? What about me is drawing these people to me, and why can't I filter them out? And it's usually because how you define yourself determines your filter. If you love you, you're not going to hang around people who don't love you.
No. That's rule number one.
Right. If you love
that
you,
is rule number one. Oh, you're not going to treat me how I treat me? Oh.
Peace.
You're confused with somebody who should be in existence next to me. Okay. Universe, send this one back. This one's defective. This one doesn't work.
They're broke. They're broken.
Yeah, this one's broken. This one's broken.
And that's the thing, is like you have control over that. The problem most people have is not that life is hard. It's that it's difficult, and they have given up the choice of choosing to filter out people who no longer serve. You bring, and I don't mean serve like, oh, you do for me. I mean like, these people do not bring any value to my world other than harsh lessons about who I don't want to be and who I don't want to be associated with. Mm. And people get this whole thing of, oh, blood is thicker than water. No, it's not. I have people in my family that I don't even talk to anymore. Not because I don't love them, but because that person no longer has any ability to be near me, because my filter just is like, nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do that. People who are like that, who are manipulators, who are negative.
That ain't family.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
I mean, they might be your biological family.
We share genes.
Yeah, you share genes, but family, if we're gonna perceive that in the way that it should be, then as you say, yeah, no, that's not.
Family's got you.
Yeah.
They take a bullet for you. They got your back. They will put your well-being before their own, and vice versa. And that's a hard thing for people to choose, because they're like, well, I'm supposed to. And that's another thing, is this whole supposed to thing. We start with this. We don't understand all the time the influence that society has on our neural net and what we think is supposed to be real or supposed to be reality. We look at the Kardashians and we think that's real life, and it's not. That is completely manufactured. I've told people on more than one occasion, working in the television industry, you find out 90% of the stuff you see on TV is not real. And they're like, well, the news is real. No, it's not. It's the perspective. It's the perspective of that producer. What story is that producer trying to tell? You can take an armed robbery, and you can tell it from multiple different perspectives. One, there's this dangerous man who came in and he took this, he got this gun and he robbed the store and so on and so forth. And it's a dangerous story. Oh, look at how dangerous the city is. Or there's a heroic cashier who kept everything calm while, and made sure the person got the money so they can get out the door, and they saved so many lives. That's a heroic story. Or it's this person came from an abusive background and was tormented for years, and the culmination of that was them going into the store, and then they were talked down. They let this cashier talk them down from doing something really worse, and then they went out and they robbed the store, but then they went and turned themselves in. It's all a matter of perspective of the story. You can tell whatever story you want to based on the information. The key is understanding, what story are you telling? Most of the stuff that goes on in your life is just information. And individuals have to decide which story they tell themselves based on the information that's coming in.
You know what I just thought about? And this maybe this can be my before we get out of here, my deeper wisdom lesson out of this. I'm going to start creating my own personal news. I'm going to be the storyteller of my news station, right? So when I get up in the morning, instead of, I already don't watch the news, but
I do. I watch it every day. I watch it all day, every day.
I don't watch the news. I see the news.
Yeah. Okay.
I see the news.
I got you.
I don't watch the news, but I do see the news. And so I'm going to create my own news, and I'm going to challenge everybody that's watching this to also maybe get a journal or something and create your own news stories when you wake up in the morning.
About your life?
Yeah, about your life. If same way, if you want to wake up and write your goals down, some people journal. I usually actually meditate when I first wake up. I wake up, meditate. Actually, let me redo that. My schedule when I get up is wake up, write down my dreams, meditate, then journal after that. So now I'm going to have to add to it another journal. Man, my morning schedule is just getting filled up. All right, so I want to create news stories about what I want to see in my life, what I want to decide my easy life to look like. Instead of the hard narratives, I'm going to narrate the news station. Now I'm going to be, hi, I'm me from News Station Mind. It's today. Local boy saves cat from tree. I'm probably not gonna write that one because I'm not climbing a tree for a cat. That cat can get itself down.
What?
So, that cat can get itself down. I'll worry about something else. But
no, I feel you on that. I feel you. I tell myself a story about my life. Usually I do mine at night because I'm a night owl. I work until 5 o'clock in the morning, almost every 5 to 7 o'clock in the morning every night, because that's when the house is quiet and there's solitude and I can write and edit and all that, and it's I can just kind of do my thing. But I do mine in the evening time when I'm like, okay, let's reflect on what this day was. And my thing is this: I constantly go back to the Marine Corps and what it taught me and how. I like the challenge. I like the hard thing. I like putting myself in situations where I have to grow and excel and do better than I have been, because it's got to be, because then, I pride myself on doing something that I don't think I can do, and that's the hard part is realizing that the true sense of self-worth doesn't come from when things are just coasting. Our true sense of worth comes from when we overcome challenges, when we purposely put ourselves in situations, when we choose the hard path and then excel.
Now that was a lesson in deeper wisdom.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm a fan. That went pretty deep. That was a very easy, deep conversation. That was yeah. All right. Okay. Why is life hard? But yeah, life isn't really hard. Life is what you make it. You decided that it was hard. Exactly. It's what we've learned today.
Exactly.
So life isn't hard. You just decided that it is.
Life can be difficult and challenging.
Yeah, life can be difficult and challenging. But unless there are things, there's things like you say out of your control.
Yeah.
That's hard. Other than that, it's choice.
Yeah.
So
that's your superpower. Own yourself.
Okay.
Own your choices.
I'm owning that.
I love it.
I'm owning that.
I love it.
All right. I want to thank everybody for listening, for watching. I am Higher Thought.
I am Nishan.
All right. Follow the light bulbs. Think higher. Get these lessons in deeper wisdom. See y'all next time.
Peace.
Peace.